Hello collectors, a while back I reviewed this car here thinking it was a VMB model because it was advertised that way on AliExpress, but it was quickly corrected that, it's a copycat. It was still a good model. I was pretty happy with it. The price was cheaper than their real resin model. The only criticism would be there's no black paint details on those fender vents, but otherwise I think it's pretty nice. But I was perusing one of my local purveyors of fine scale models, and I decided to just actually get the real, or I'm hoping this is a real VMB resin model. Maybe it's not, I don't know. But we'll take a look anyways. At least it has black paint on the fender vents, so I can see that as an improvement already. Let me get backed out here. So I'm not going to bother talking about the car since I already talked about it with the copycat. This Koenigsegg One is basically 1 horsepower for every kilogram that the car weighs, which was a pretty significant milestone, I guess, for this brand of car, and probably a lot of sports cars. So this does say VMB models, precision handmade model, alright, 1/64 scale, and no licensing, so I think it's funny that, this isn't an official product, and yet someone else would copy this, or yeah, alright. This is probably taped together. Yes, it is. So you really roughly remove this tape here, at least get the thing open here on one side. Alright, decently thicker plastic box, but this thing is probably pretty loose without the tape. Yeah, very loose, so don't ever expect to pick it up by the top. It just won't. So the base here, I'm gonna guess, is like laser cut acrylic or something. And then polished perhaps, because look how clear this base is. I mean, it's just totally transparent, which is quite impressive. And then it's got 2 screws going into the body there. And how they glued the white acrylic is really well done. The entire thing is glued with acrylic glue. The only way you can tell is right here in this corner there's no glue, but everywhere else there's glue. A lot of these other brands I'll just see like a big puddle of acrylic glue, but they don't actually spread it to the whole thing. So this is actually the most impressive acrylic glued base I've ever seen. Which probably doesn't mean anything to most of you guys, but it's, this is an expensive model, so I kind of feel like that might be part of the reason they actually cared how the bottom looks. This is apparently limited to 500 or so pieces. It's a really shiny mirror right there. You can see just reflecting right off my photo booth there. This is a matte purple. Well, let's get back to these photos here. Try to focus between the two. Get that angle. Alright, let's see the overall proportions here. Okay. And the back view. That's a tough one. I can't. There's the photo. There's the model. Alright. Okay, so now we have a nice matte finish purple. So that might be a new one from... Oh no, actually, I'm sorry. I think I have a Rolls Royce in a matte purple. It's nice. Let's go start with the side here. I always tend to start with the wheels. I'm not sure why that is, but I'm doing it again. So these wheels have a nice carbon fiber printing on them, so that's pretty nice. You can see the brake rotor as a molded in, cross drilling, and the hat or some sort of groove system. So very nice. And then the caliper actually has printing on it, so that's looking good. I think that caliper might be photo etched metal, because there's no dimensionality to it. It's just a flat red thing with white printed on it. The center cap seems to be silver, but then I think there's like a chrome thing going on in the middle of it. Let me zoom in further. This is as far as I can go, 4 times. Well, maybe it's like a white with a silver shield or something on there. But look at this wheel. The carbon thing texture goes, it wraps around the spoke. So that's pretty darn cool, I think. You also see the side tread blocks. They don't look like truck tires. A lot of brands are guilty of, that, people want treads, but they very often, other brands will have really tall tread blocks, which really ruins the look of things, I think. Alright, the front also looks pretty good there, that wheel. There's no way this would ever roll. You can just see the tire squished up against the body, so. And then there's probably nothing on the bottom, so I'm not going to even bother taking this off. So you can see the bottom canard and side skirts here have a carbon texture. I'm going to guess that's probably like a decal. I don't know. Or is it printed? I'm not sure. And then the side of the doors here also more carbon. And that definitely is a decal because you can see where the door cuts are. The decal is literally covering that gap. So that is too bad. And also this is really bad, I think. This orange, I don't know if that's floating air behind that stripe. Or, oh, never mind. There's actually a solid piece of material there, so that's okay. From this angle I thought it was actually air underneath that orange stripe, but no, there's actually plastic there. Okay, so this vent here on the side, again, it's a decal because you can't see the body, the door cut, it's being covered by the decal. Inside there looks to be, a nice honeycomb texture. I'm not sure if that's just part of the resin casting or a separate piece. And then we have one printed here. Oh, a really tiny little reflector or side marker here on this. There, it's a separate piece. It looks like, because I don't think that's printed on. It looks like it's literally recessed. And then up here, another decal of carbon fiber, and then the window is that really thin plastic with a blackout printing on the back side. And then I'm gonna guess there's a photo etched piece of metal painted black on the outside for the window frames. And then we have these vents up on top of the fenders, and they do have a carbon texture, so very nice there. A little tiny contaminant there on the door. And then look at these mirrors, they're also in this carbon texture, and there's a reflector in there. Alright, so that looks good. There's a little honeycomb vent in this hood vent as well. Probably a separate piece. I think it's a separate piece because you can see like a little bit of a depth to the groove between the purple and the honeycomb. Look at the top view of this headlight. You got those tiny little dots representing those LEDs. And is that a carbon texture down below? I don't know. Possibly. But it's a super thin plastic lens cover. And then there's a silver painted headlight back there. And then on the side, it looks like there might be some more like LEDs, details molded in there. So these canards here, they're separate pieces. I can't tell if they're metal or plastic though. But they definitely have some carbon printing on them. Or a decal perhaps. And so that's pretty good. The chin spoiler carrying over the carbon fiber look. In the middle vertically there seems to be, I'm pretty sure it's a piece of metal that is very, very thin. This thing here, and it also has carbon on it, so it's not just a black piece of metal. Pretty impressive. So the decal on the front hood, again, sadly it's, just crossing over this gap. And then it's got just an outline, I think, of this Koenigsegg logo, which is kind of weak. Just an outline. You expect from a resin model this to have more detail. Here it's trying to say Koenigsegg, I guess, as well as it could. And then again, there's an air pocket here. As I press that decal in. The wiper blade is a separate piece, painted black, and the arm is probably plastic, but then there's actually a metal blade glued to it, and that is perpendicular to the windscreen. Or maybe that actually, I think the whole thing is metal. It's just that it's bent. So it's actually bent 90 degrees here, but I think this and this are actually the same piece of metal, just based on that. So pretty cool. Ooh, not so cool. I think that's like an extra glue. Yeah, I don't want to pick at it. It'll probably take the purple off with it. Let's go around to this side here. Uh-oh. The side you can't see in the box. Oh, thankfully it's just some random dust or something. I really like those brakes. Those are some of the best carbon brakes I've seen. There's no like side marker in the front, you know, like in the back. So that's interesting. I really like that tiny detail there. Going around to the back, and now we have, look how small this marker is. I have a suspicion that's a separate piece as well. Let me get a different angle here. Yeah, I think it might be like a red painted piece of metal, and then it's in this black recess. Okay, so now this decal here is doing a pretty good job. Also the license plate has a decal, which is nice. This rear grille I'm thinking is a separate piece, and then this is a separate plastic piece, but I think this, I don't know if that's paint. Maybe that's a paint, this little stripe here. I think it's silver. I don't know, it's so shiny. I wouldn't be surprised if that's a piece of metal. But if it is, that's really hard to put on. I mean, I can't imagine me trying to glue that onto something. I think it is metal. I'm looking at the naked eye. It's so reflective. So that's really impressive. And then this whole ring here is painted red. And the fine details of this make me think it might be photo etched metal. So it's really pretty nice, this taillight. Okay, carbon texture here in the diffuser. The veins have the texture. But the carbon I don't think goes all the way through it down. I think it stops around there and it's just black. So, alright. And then you got this silver exhaust tip. Seems okay. Let's see if this goes in pretty far or not. Whoa. Yeah, well, it doesn't go in very, very far, but it goes in enough. And then now I'm noticing there's something printed there. Yeah, one on the exhaust tip there. Okay, so now I guess this wing, there seems to be, yeah, a carbon graphic on the bottom side, and then the top obviously is quite visible, and then the top of the struts here are actually white or silver. It seems to be carrying over from here, so that's a really nice detail. But sadly, you know, again, this is just an outline of the logo. I feel like other brands, much less expensive brands, would have more detail in the logo of a car. Perhaps it's because this is unlicensed. Maybe that's a way they're trying to avoid legal pursuit. I don't know, but I mean, that's clearly a copyright right there. There's a little orange thing here. I guess from the top, maybe that's supposed to look like the logo as well. And then this little third brake light thing is nice. It's a translucent piece of red plastic. There's some aerodynamic streaks here, some sort of, I don't know, disruptors or something. And then, yeah, I can see carbon fiber in this black here. It's very faint though. And what about this vent on the roof? It's just darkness. Okay, it does go back in there a bit. And I think, yeah, this is that packaging plastic with the blackout. So this is like a little bit of a sunroof, but it's also part of the vent for the engine, or the intake. So that leaves the interior. So looking at the front dash, we have an orange carbon treatment there in the middle. And then probably a carbon cover for the airbag on the passenger side. And then we have some carbon and silver for these like pods that are, I assume, ventilation ducts. This is going to be hard though with this shallow window here. Let me put it on the surface here. I'm going to zoom in, hit focus, and let me get the flashlight. Now you see, to me it looks like the steering wheel has a yellow Koenigsegg logo, and that logo looks better than all the ones on the outside of the car. I don't understand why they wouldn't use that logo on the outside of the car, right? It's very strange that decision. Let me see if I can get this closer. Without the flashlight, I can't. It's having a hard time focusing. No. Yeah, right. Look at that. The steering wheel logo is much better than the outside. I don't know. Maybe that's just actually not printed well, and it's just black showing through. So I might be mistaken there. The instrument binnacle has this orange border, and I think that might be a tachometer in the middle of it. It's really hard to tell. The seats have harnesses, it looks like. Yeah, there's a silver decal of a harness buckle. There's the center console. I guess that's the best we can see from this side. So the center console, I think, is silver or white. It's awfully lighter than the rest of the interior. Some sort of decal with the screen up there. I think the seats also have orange trim as a decal. Right. Yeah, so you'll see there's a lot of orange going on that seat. And then the top of the seats have the outline again of the logo. And then there's nice little silver outlines for the harnesses to come through. And the whole pod of the steering wheel assembly looks to be a carbon fiber decal as well, that whole instrument binnacle. So, pretty nice interior. I can't really tell if there's a rear view mirror. I don't think there would be one on this car because it's all solid behind the cabin. There is no rear window. Okay, so I guess that's it. Let's compare it to the few other Koenigsegg's I can pull out here. Alright, just pull out this copycat, really. And naturally you're going to have to pause the video when you think it's appropriate and then look at the details yourself. Right off the top of my view, you know, besides the lack of black paint in these vents, is the headlight details. These headlights don't have that row of LED dots that I can see. It looks much more black. And then there's no carbon fiber treatment anywhere on this black area, right? It just looks black. And then the exhaust tip of this one is blue, of all things. But I will say the brakes and the tires, the wheels, they do look nice. They're just not carbon fiber. One thing that is nicer on this one is the logo. It has like a foil sticker with far more detail. And then what else? They both have reflective mirrors. The wing of this copycat is better. There's literally air. There's an air gap here in the wing, whereas this one doesn't. I'll do a top view in a moment. I do like the license plate of this one better because it's bigger. You can see it easier. The canards on this die cast are just molded in. They're pretty good for molded in canards, but you know, this thing has separate pieces, which now I'm starting to think are made of photo etched metal with a carbon fiber graphic, because they are quite thin. Alright, so let me give you guys the top view. And in particular, look at that rear wing, how the blue one, or the photo shift blue, has an air gap, like the real car. But the VMB is just a one solid wing, which is not as realistic as it could be. So that's a bit of a letdown. And then the windows, you know, of a resin model like this are the super thin plastic with the photo etched metal window frames. Whereas the blue one, being a die cast, it just has a molded clear window with some black paint to represent that window frame stuff. And so there's a lot more distortion trying to look into the interior of that blue one, which truthfully probably doesn't bother most people, even including me, because outside of these videos I really don't look into the interior of these things. But you know, I like to justify the expensive price of this, knowing that there's a lot of extra detail, even though I generally don't look at it. Okay, so hopefully that'll help you guys decide if you want to pay the extra money for pretty much the best representation of the Koenigsegg One, or if you don't totally love this car, because let's face it, it's a bit of a polarizing design style. I like the styling of Koenigsegg's, at least far more than McLaren's. But anyways, if you don't love it, I do think this copycat is quite nice. And then also, if you're like a customizer, if this is die cast, you can strip that down and you can repaint it again and again. Although you want to, not the mirrors or the wing, those are plastic. Actually, and also you can take this apart. So if you don't like the interior of this guy, it's an easy respray. In fact, maybe I'll do that later. I don't know. I'm not sure if I'll even keep this, since obviously I have a nicer version now. Okay, so I think even a less expensive option is this Tarmac Works Global. It's the Koenigsegg Agera RS, and this has come out in many different variations of color. This is die cast as well. It already has a nice bright tan interior, and if you're into the little gimmicky engine cover, you know, for me it's kind of like, I had to laugh because that's pretty lame. You know, I don't know why anyone would want to look at that. That doesn't look realistic at all because it's all so shallow. But nice tires, and I will say that this, even though this is die cast, the way they have this rear half fit, it's not bad. I mean, it's not as good as a resin to resin fit, but I guess it could have been a lot worse, you know, if you compare it to like a Matchbox or something. So I've been quite happy with that one, you know, knowing the price of it and all. It's a pretty cool model, and it actually has a brake system, which is, I don't know if that's normal for Tarmac Works. I don't think Tarmac Works Globals, yeah, Globals usually have brakes. Am I right? Maybe this isn't, I think this is an early release, so maybe they're trying harder. It's also weird that it has 3 screws, but I guess they're trying to preserve the look of this undercarriage with the diffuser vanes. But yeah, you can literally see a brake system, and it's painted orange caliper with a black carbon. Well, anyways, very nice. It's nice to revisit your models, right? I'm gonna make a little room because I do actually have this wonderful thing here, one of my early resin purchases. This is made by a brand Avant Style. It's the Regera. I don't know how many they made. It just says 296. That's kind of silly, right? Not knowing where this number ends. Is it 296 of 10,000? Probably not, but still, it'd be nice to know if it was of 300 versus 500 or 1,000. The only fault I found with this one after owning it is this headlight here. It's a bit of a gap. Or, you know what, that might be extra red paint on top of it. Yeah, but it's unsightly. Whereas this side clearly is much nicer. you know, for the cost of this model, this should be perfect, but this is clearly not perfect right here. Otherwise, it is actually quite wonderful. So, let's put this up to this. I'm going to just focus on the two middle ones. I think I still like this one more, just because the design of the car itself, it's more appealing to me, and also you can see more of the interior because there actually is more of a rear window. And this Avant style did a really good job mimicking all the carbon fiber on this as well. This is glossy wet carbon, whereas this is, you know, dry carbon. It's matte finish. It's not clear coated. So two different styles of carbon. I will note that I did pre-order the Fronty Art. What is it? The white car, Koenigsegg. The Fronty Art is the brand of the model car company. Jesco, the Koenigsegg Jesco. I pre-ordered that thing twice, and something's going on there. It's just not happening. I'm now seeing it for sale on AliExpress, but I have since now pre-ordered it by a brand called HKM, which we believe this copycat is made by. So there was a big price difference as well. The Fronty Art was very expensive. The HKM of this Jesco that's coming up is a lot less expensive. So I might be hosed again. I might end up getting a copycat, like a die cast, instead of a resin, which is what I really want. But well, we'll just have to see what happens with that video. On a different note, I will have to warn you guys, the daily videos have come to an end. So if you've been on watching my channel for the past year and a half, I put up almost a video every day, if not 5. I've put up over 1,200 videos since I started this channel. Maybe 800 realistic looking models, and then 400 of those goofy Chorokyu things, but I still love them. But I'm just not gonna buy a bunch of models that I don't want, you know. As much as I like Hot Wheels and you know, other brands like Auto World and Johnny Lightning and Greenlight and stuff, I don't really have room to have those kind of things. They have to be really funky subjects for me to want to buy those things. So with that said, daily videos are at an end. I'm still going to collect 1/64 scale models, but I think my channel is going to become more like everyone else's, where it might be a video a week instead of every day. So I apologize for that, and I will want to thank you guys again if you guys have been watching. I'm just going to buy models that I want, that I like, whenever they come out. But as far as like buying all the backlogged Kyoshos and stuff like that, there really aren't that many left that I'm willing to pay for. You know, I'm not going to pay $60, $70 for an old Kyosho. That doesn't make sense to me. Okay, well, thank you for watching, guys, and I guess I'll catch you the next time I get some new models in. Take care.